performance. I like playing with that. And again, it gives a thematic experience for the audience. They're not only watching, they are part in the experience. And if you hear something, your senses are engaged in a different way. So, which comes again to this inter and that transdisciplinary teaching. I do enjoy working with other disciplines. That could lead to improvisation sessions, but also to projects where students have worked towards together. And how do you devise and collaborate successfully? What are the methods and skills that you need as a collaborator? Because we speak different languages, and the first thing that is, it clashes because we don't understand it. So, as practices research and the postgraduate degrees that I've been teaching, I've been teaching a lot about embodied research methods, and of course been supervising dissertation projects and all kinds of dance projects, written but also practical projects called free festivals. And something that I've been teaching also quite a lot is dance management, so students create a public profile of themselves. That could be developing a studio or as an artist, or also thinking about funding proposals, crowdfunding proposals, looking at that, so that when you graduate you actually have some tools. You might cover this already in other courses, because you are of course doing other courses alongside the dance major as well. So in terms of interdisciplinary teaching and research, there are just 3 projects that I wanted to mention. So I, since many years, collaborate with music technology, the composition part of that, where the musicians create original music for the Dance for the Camera students. But they also come to us into the studio, and they were just there last week and were participating in the choreography, which was a little bit of a surprise. So that was their first experience in a dance studio. And then, for example, last year I was initiating with other colleagues a project called Species of Spaces of the writer Georges Perec. He's a French writer. He writes about the mundane. He sits in Paris and looks at an apartment building and writes everything down. So he's kind of
everything down
about what's happening. A woman enters the stairway, 3 men go, somebody sits down for a cafe. So he makes this list. So he, for a year long, writes how many times he drinks coffee. So it's kind of noting the mundane of the everyday. It's called endotic space. So based on that, it is quite funny writing, so really it's absurd when you read it for the first time. But what was nice about it, that we joined with creative writing, dance, design, fine art, and English courses, and everybody can connect to space. Everybody in discipline thinks about space, and we're visiting each other, and then creating projects together. And that project also then led to a conference, so we did a conference in March, which then faculty presented. It was an international conference, and we got designers, architects, dancers, performers. So it was a really interesting gathering of people. And there were papers, but also exhibitions. So we did this practices research, showing practical work as well as papers. And I've been involved in another project where we work with sociology, for example, because sociologists really enjoy working with arts methods apparently in the last years. So we got kind of tired of only having interviews and interested in embodied research methods. And that was a really interesting project as well, which led to a conference. So something that I wanted to mention is, because I've been busy with it the last 6 years, is that I was employed to write, develop, and lead the dance program in the UK, or 2. So there was no dance at all, so we started from scratch with what floor do you want to have in the dance studio, how many mirrors, and all of it. And that was really exciting, because we had the chance to start a course that we thought was relevant to now. So in places where I worked before, we maybe did develop things, but also it took a while until something new could start. So it was really exciting to just start with what we thought would be useful. And after 3 years, we revalidated it again, so because then we look, is it working, is it not working? So both were successfully validated. For the MA in particular, because the north of England again, and so far all MAs are taught in London, almost. But you can't go every Thursday night to London for 1 take a whole year off after having built up a freelance career because all your work will be gone. So we did a consultancy and asked the dance people in the north, how would you like to have it delivered? What would you like? What do you think you need actually? Because we had certain ideas of what they might need, but what do they really need to, keep the sustainable careers, to keep it going? And main things that they thought that they kept them employed was more finding out more about dance facilitation, working with different target groups. Some people had started to work in health, in mental health, for example, or focused on primary school kids, or in professional dance education. So that kind of particular focus of facilitation. Then we also developed a module which is leadership and entrepreneurship, and that's really exciting because we get experts who are experts in writing proposals for funding, for big funding, and they had to do business plans or personal development portfolios. And then of course also a creative practice module and a research module. So they still said, yeah, I want to have some choreography, but not only. And what we also do is to acknowledge their work experience, or it's connected to their life work. So they keep on working and they can negotiate a project. So each project will be very different to you. If you're working in creating choreography for students, you could use that. If I'm working in a mental health place, maybe I'm going to use it. So it's negotiated. So we have these broad learning outcomes, but then you can use them. And they come for intensive blocks throughout the year. So it's a tough program, I think. Blocks in 11 weeks, and but it's working really well. And here I just wanted to give another example of collaboration. So Hui is from Malaysia and she graduated this year. And one of our interdisciplinary workshops was with animation. So she got together with an animator. They went into the motion capture suit, motion. She took a movement, he animated it, and all these things there in the back, that's actually her. So it's initiated by her movement. And so that's really, really lovely to see that then she took it on to an own project. And she's been re-invited to come back from Malaysia to a festival in the UK. So obviously I'm from abroad, so I have a lot of contacts that might be useful with universities, with the people that lead institutions, with choreographers, not only within dance, but also, for example, within music or film. So I've been working with all of these people personally together, and then they spread out. I think there are lots of opportunities. And I've also been thinking that what we've been doing in the past is taking students to places, because lots of learning happens when you go somewhere else. And it happens so easily because you don't have to work hard, you just see work. And here, for example, festivals like the Impulstanz in Vienna is the biggest festival, contemporary festival in Europe, at least as I know. There are performances for 6 weeks, almost every night. There are lots of workshops from voice and singing to Feldenkrais, to hip-hop, to any contemporary dance or ballet or whatever, and different levels. So this is always a great experience to go. And I could really well imagine to do that. Or also have a really good contact with Karloff Institute in Salzburg, which is at another university, and they are very interested in kind of exchanges, for example. So I thought now I'm just going to talk a little bit about my research. I think there are two strands. There is the artistic one, where we're solo, but also in collaboration. It stands for camera work, choreography commissions, installations. And I also have been doing pedagogical research. And there the key themes are really about values, norms, and emotions in the dance student community. I found that really interesting because I used to work in conservatory education and then shifted to the UK, which is kind of a different culture. And things which kept common is that often dancers are, I don't want to say stuck, but it kind of, the expectations are that we teach them in an old-fashioned way. And then it clashes when you think, no, actually, you need to do other things as well. And how many values and norms are involved in that, and what does it do to students? And there, again, I think I'm using all the time embodied research methods. So although we did qualitative interviews, we also did workshops in the studio to actually read the stories in their bodies. yeah, one thing that you probably have got, you remember, is from last year. And I think that what I wanted to say about that is that I've been living in different countries and I really enjoy that. I enjoy going to a different space and have recently discovered that that is emotional geography, and I admit that that was only
emotional geography.
yes, so it has a name. So which is nice, because I talked about it a few years ago at a conference, but at a geographic conference as well, at the World Geographic Conference. So I think when I create a visual poems of space, I think other people write poems. I think because the editing, there's a rhythm in that, as is a rhythm in text, as is a rhythm in poems. For me, it's visual poems. And yeah, I disseminate that via practice, but also at conferences. Now, one of our most successful films is Strand, and we've just heard that it's going to be shown at the cinema in Iceland next month, and it's been awarded the short film of the week from the National TV station in Iceland. So, although it's already quite old, it's still running, which is great. Quite old, but it's 2010. And these are just the festivals they have been shown just in the last year, so the list is endless. Well, it's not, but it's a big list. I'm really happy about this one. And there I've done other work that's been touring the festivals. So the pedagogical research projects, these are just two examples where we looked at this ghosts that I call them, tracing embodied ghosts, emotional cultures and norms of the trans student community. And what was really nice here is that I was successful with funding to engage students to do the research with me together. So that, first of all, was a huge help to me, not only because of time, but also if I interview a student, you will be limited in what you want to share with me. But if students interview students, it was a much more casual conversation. So I think I got more information then. But also students, for them it was a good opportunity to see how we research, and the aim is to gauge interest for postgraduate education as well. And lots of this was in the studio, so it was different things. And then I also invited them to present with me at the conference, so that was great. Now, two students went to Germany for a 3 months exchange at the University of Berlin, and when they came back, they did a poster presentation at a teaching conference in Durham, and those two were really just interested in reflecting on their experience, and we supported them to be able to present. So these are some examples of student work. I thought I'd show you maybe some examples. Now, this is actually installation that Anna and myself are involved with, but we also invited Jessica Smith, who just graduated last year, to show her piece Transformations, which is there on the right side. And she's now currently going tomorrow, Thursday, to Hong Kong actually to negotiate, maybe find another venue for that as well. So she's a mature student who came to finish her degree with us because she was living in Hong Kong for a while. Then we have the Tees Dance Film Fest that was initiated by Holly and last year, so it was a graduate project for one of my students, and because it was so successful, we kept it, we decided to continue it and brokered a venue, Middlesbrough Institute of the Arts, MIMA, which is the big gallery in Middlesbrough, and Anna's going to bring a special edition, and we already have two venues where it's probably going to tour to. So we hope that that's going to become a yearly event. And just looking at some students that are further down, so not graduates, their career. So for example, Nina, I taught in Holland, and she's been really successful as a performer, but is now also teaching in Artes at the conservatory where I trained myself, and she's a lecturer. Then Saga, who is in the video, red hair, she just premiered choreography for the Icelandic Dance Company last week, and is also a teacher at the Icelandic University of the Arts. And then Bethany Ansley, she's doing our MA at the moment, and it was amazing what happened to her. She's been awarded, and I'm not kidding, $680,000 of funding.
Wow.
Yes, it's crazy. Lottery fund, that's the biggest, it's the biggest funding that you can get. So lottery funding supports all kind of projects within the arts, within health, health and the arts. So this is to support her company over the next years to employ another 12 people. So she has 12, to employ another 12, to expand all over the north her studio, which is called Nouveau Dance and Fitness. And I think the business plan that she wrote in the MA contributed to the development. But this is amazing. And she was also awarded one of the 50 brightest young entrepreneurs in the UK.
Wow.
So she's really exciting, and she's just 28. I'm a bit jealous. And I think what the thing is, she's really an entrepreneur. She stayed in the north. She saw the opportunity of a infrastructure that lacks infrastructure, and that's why she wanted so much money. People thought, yes, that's what we're going to give to. Because the Arts Council cut a lot of funding in the UK 2 years ago. Now what's upcoming? We have just been accepted and publication at the International